Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Like the soaring wild goose, light and graceful, like the swimming dragon, soft and beautiful. These words were used by Cao Ji to describe the Luo goddess, expressing her beauty and charm. The name of Empress Wanrong, the last empress of the Qing dynasty, and her courtesy name, Huang, are derived from this beautiful description. Initially, Puyi had no intention of selecting Wanrong as his empress, but after seeing her photograph, he decided to make her his wife and empress. So, just how beautiful was Wanrong? Wanrong's beauty was not only in her appearance, but also in her elegant temperament and inherent nobility. Whether in Puyi's eyes or in the evaluations of those in the palace at the time, Wanrong's appearance and grace could be described as overwhelmingly beautiful. Her face was like the beauties in ancient paintings, with delicate features and eyes as clear as water, leaving a lasting impression. Combined with her elegance, gentle yet noble, she often shone like a pearl among the crowd. According to historical records, Wanrong was born into a prominent family of officials in the Qing dynasty, and received an excellent upbringing from a young age. In 1921, when Puyi was preparing to select a wife, Wanrong's photograph, along with those of 3 other women, was sent to the palace. Because the photos were unclear, Puyi casually made a mark on one of them, showing a woman dressed in colorful robes. However, Dowager Empress Duankang insisted that Wanrong had the best family background, and ultimately decided to make her the empress. Thus, Wanrong became Puyi's empress. The following year, Wanrong and Puyi held a grand wedding, and the ceremony was lavish. In that moment, Wanrong received the most honorable treatment of her life, and she eagerly anticipated the sweetness and happiness of married life. However, on their wedding night, Wanrong did not experience the joy she had hoped for. Because Puyi had physical issues and could not engage in normal marital relations, he did not visit her room. Wanrong did not understand the reason behind this, and felt heartbroken, thinking she had been neglected. The next day, Puyi and Wanrong received foreign diplomats who had come to congratulate them on their wedding. Wanrong, dressed magnificently and with an elegant demeanor, captivated everyone present with her beauty. She was even more beautiful than in the photographs, and Puyi himself was attracted by her appearance. Seeing how popular she was, Wanrong felt reassured. Gradually forgetting the loneliness and disappointment of the wedding night, and regaining her good spirits. When they were first married, although Wanrong was only a nominal empress, their life was quite happy. Not only was Wanrong a beauty educated in traditional Chinese ways, but she had also been exposed to Western knowledge. Therefore, compared to the fearful eunuchs and palace maids, Puyi preferred Wanrong's cheerful and open personality. Because Puyi was very interested in Western matters, Wanrong often acted as his English teacher and introduced him to Western cuisine, which pleased Puyi greatly. Wanrong brought fresh air to the otherwise dull palace life, and Puyi experienced a long-awaited vitality and passion. During that time, Wanrong was a ray of light in Puyi's life, and the couple lived happily together. This was also the happiest period in Wanrong's life. However, just a year later, this once loving couple began to drift apart. Eunuch Sun Yaoting, who served beside Wanrong, recalled that during that time, although Puyi visited Wanrong's room every day to eat, chat, and play, he no longer stayed the night. Sun Yaoting could not understand what had happened. And Wanrong's temper was no longer as gentle as before, she often lost her temper suddenly. To pass the time, 17-year-old Wanrong became enamored with cigarettes, which were becoming popular at the time. She often smoked clouds in front of everyone, and Puyi did not interfere. However, smoking did not alleviate Wanrong's loneliness. And she gradually became addicted to opium. She thought to herself that perhaps her life was destined to be spent in the palace, relying on opium to pass the long years. But fate had other plans. And a political change would unexpectedly alter her previously peaceful life. In 1924, 18-year-old Wanrong, along with her husband Puyi and Wenxiu, were driven out of the Forbidden City by General Feng Yuxiang. They went to Tianjin. Wanrong had attended school in Tianjin, and compared to the constraints of the palace, she preferred life there. Life in Tianjin was much freer and more relaxed than in the palace, where every day, she and Puyi would go shopping, ride horses, visit famous landmarks, attend various balls, and make many foreign friends, making their lives vibrant and colorful. Having received a good Western education, Wanrong naturally embraced the progressive wave, beginning to pursue new and fashionable things, becoming more trendy. Once, at a banquet hosted by a foreigner, Wanrong, with her fashionable attire and stunning beauty, attracted everyone's attention. A foreigner even approached her for an interview, praising her noble temperament, saying he would never forget her beauty. Clearly, Wanrong's charm spread not only among the Chinese, but also captivated foreigners. In addition to attending banquets, Wanrong also engaged in some charitable work, hoping to restore some dignity to the Qing Dynasty royal family. At that time, a major flood occurred in the Jiangnan region, and she donated her pearl necklace, an act that was even reported in the newspapers. Clearly, she hoped to build social goodwill through these gestures. Puyi, seeing this, was happy for her. However, Wanrong had her own motives. All her efforts were actually aimed at winning back Puyi's favor. She believed that the reason Puyi no longer slept with her was because he had feelings for Wenxiu, and Wenxiu was the obstacle to their relationship. Thus, Wanrong tried to outdo Wenxiu in every way, seeking more attention and affection. The two women began to compete on various fronts, even trying to outdo each other in generosity, hoping to attract Puyi's attention. In the end, Wanrong won this battle for Puyi's favor, and Wenxiu eventually divorced Puyi. Wanrong felt she had finally won Puyi's heart, believing that no one could interfere with their relationship anymore. She decided to quit opium and even hoped to have a child for Puyi. But when Wanrong eagerly shared these thoughts with Puyi, he coldly rejected her request. Wanrong couldn't understand why Puyi had suddenly become so indifferent to her, and her hopes were shattered. Her emotional state completely collapsed, and she turned to opium once more, sinking into its narcotic haze, falling into a restless sleep. However, when she woke up, she discovered that Puyi had quietly left Tianjin. Wanrong, who had always been accustomed to having Puyi by her side and was deeply dependent on him, decided to follow Kawashima Yoshiko in search of Puyi. Little did she know, this journey would mark the point of no return. Soon after, in Changchun, Wanrong finally reunited with Puyi. Puyi, always focused on the revival of the Qing dynasty, hoped to restore its former glory. But the reality left him deeply disappointed. The divorce had brought him shame, and he had repeatedly faced political setbacks. Thus, all his frustrations and pressures were transferred onto Wanrong. He began to treat her with indifference, refusing to speak to her or take an interest in her affairs. Yet, Wanrong remained immersed in the joy of being reunited with her husband, unable to escape the emotional turmoil of their relationship. Every day, she would meticulously dress up, hoping to present her best self before Puyi. But each time, her efforts were met with cold criticism from him. As time passed, Puyi's indifference left Wanrong utterly disappointed, and her mood grew increasingly oppressive, eventually affecting her health. In Changchun, the days were dull and monotonous, because Puyi gave her no affection. Wanrong, feeling frustrated, began to take her anger out on the eunuchs and maids around her. Whenever she wanted to eat dumplings, she would complain that the dumplings from the imperial kitchen were either too thick or had too little filling. She would always find fault, even throwing bowls and smashing plates to vent her emotions. Sometimes, she would have the eunuchs push her around in a rickshaw for sightseeing, or would casually hit the maids. Though the eunuchs and maids were unhappy, Puyi seemed to turn a blind eye. To relieve her frustration, Wanrong started to spend money lavishly and without restraint. But Puyi remained indifferent. Wanrong tried many times to escape from this dull life, but all her attempts failed. Eventually, she completely broke down and decided to take extreme measures to get back at him. Wanrong began having an affair. She became involved with two of Puyi's guards. This forbidden act gave her a fleeting sense of relief and pleasure. Later, Wanrong became pregnant. When Puyi found out, he was furious, but to cover up his own condition, he silently endured it and allowed the child to continue growing inside Wanrong. After the child was born, Wanrong wasn't even allowed to hold it, and was secretly locked away in a secluded palace. At that time, Wanrong was only 28 years old, and sadly, her child passed away. Even so, Wanrong remained the Empress. And sometimes Puyi would allow her to attend banquets as Empress when her condition was better. Wanrong's sister-in-law, Soga Hao, recalled the last time she saw Wanrong, when she attended a family banquet. Though Wanrong was still heavily made up and dressed luxuriously, her mental state had deteriorated terribly. She was so thin, she looked like skin and bones, her eyes hollow, lacking the sparkle she once had. When it came time to eat, Wanrong's behavior stunned everyone. She actually reached into the basin and grabbed food with her hands, completely disregarding the dignity expected of an empress. This action caused Puyi great embarrassment. And from that moment on, Wanrong was never allowed to attend another Aizen-Joro family banquet. Soon after, Wanrong's mental state worsened, and she completely lost her sanity. She began to do many unacceptable things, even sometimes running around naked, behaving nothing like an empress. By 1946, at the age of just 39, Wanrong passed away. Historians have commented that, looking at Wanrong's photos, it is clear she was a great beauty. No wonder Puyi was so captivated by her at first. Many of her photos were taken in the palace and at home, where she exuded exceptional elegance and charm. Love had always been the most important thing to Wanrong. When she first entered the palace, she eagerly anticipated a sweet life with Puyi. Little did she know, the man she loved most would be the one to destroy her beautiful dream. Thus, the relationship between Puyi and Wanrong was never on the same wavelength. Though Puyi had many wives, only Wanrong truly devoted herself to him. Yet he never genuinely loved her. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.